Hi, and thanks for watching another instructional video for CSCI 1300. In this video, we will be talking about how to use Miro.com to create flowcharts for your programs. In CSCI 1300, sometimes it can be hard to visualize the flow of your process inside of your programs, or the logical thought pathways that you will be using to describe the operations of whatever you're doing with your algorithms and your pseudocode and your larger and larger projects as you get into them. So in order to visualize that process, we're going to be using a flowchart through Miro.com. Signing up for Miro is free, and once you create an account, you'll see that this home page. You can either select a new board, or you can select from the default flowchart framework that has already been provided. So I've already selected a flowchart framework here, and we're going to be talking about how to simulate some pseudocode that we have a good example of here. So imagine that we have a scenario where we're trying to input student grades into some kind of storage in the computer. We're trying to do some kind of evaluation process to see if the student has passed or not. So we have some kind of pseudocode here that's saying that we have an if-else condition, and if the student's grade is higher than or equal to 60, which we can translate as if the grade is greater than or equal to 60, then we have an action where we print, and we print passed out to the user. So this would be our output that would occur as a result of this condition being true. If this was false, so if we had a grade that we were evaluating and it was less than 60, so if it was 59 or below, we would jump into an else clause as a catch. We would have another action where we would print failed out to the user in the output stream. And we can see that here in C++ source code if we check. We're saying here that if the grade is greater than 60 or the grade is equal to 60, so we have a threshold value of 60 or higher to meet this condition, then we will print passed through a cout command to the user. If this condition is not met, if it is false, then we will go into our catch, which is our else block, and we will then print failed to the user. So let's talk about how to do that in Miro using a flowchart. I selected a flowchart here, and I've got a basic rundown of what you would use in Miro to create this kind of pseudocode and put it into a flowchart. So let's visually look at how this works. We're going to have some kind of start condition, which will be followed by some kind of action where we do something maybe as a pre-task to some kind of conditional check. So here our pre-task is that we need to input a variable for a grade. So we would have to gather input here from the user before moving on to our if statement. And this would be our if statement here, where we're looking for a conditional thing to be true or false. So we can really think of this as a question that we're asking. Is this true? Is the grade greater than or equal to 60? Well, if it is, then we're going to go down into our yes branch. So this would be if we went inside of our if statement. We would then have an action where we would print and we would output passed to the user. If the grade was 59 or below, so if this was false, we would go into a no block. This would go into an else clause where we would print as our action the output of failed back to the user. So let's talk a little bit about how you can flexibly change your design here in Miro. You can move things around and they will snap to the grid that is available here in the background. You can change the color of anything here if you want to better suit how you want to represent information. You can also create arrows, so we can modify our arrows here. We can bend them, we can change them in different directions. We could add an additional condition here. So what we could do here is we could say add in a shape, and let's add in a diamond or make it purple. This will be our else. If we wanted to properly simulate an else block, what we could do is we could then do an else here and move everything along. And then we could then insert an arrow and connect to here, and then change the size of the arrow. Like so. That looks pretty good. You could always make it look better, but that's sufficient enough for us to understand that we are going into an else clause here. So this is an example of how to use Miro and to create flowcharts for your ideas. Of course, you can get into larger and larger ideas, but this is just a basic overview of how to get started. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and happy coding!